Tell us about your experience at Michigan State. How did your autism impact your relationship with your teammates?
So I'll start from high school. So when I was brought up my sophomore year for varsity, I think there was only one guy on our team that knew about me being on the autism spectrum, and he went to the same elementary school as me, and he lives like a block over from where my parents live. And so we knew each other, from elementary school, and then we went to two different middle schools because when I was growing up, Okemos Public Schools had two different schools. It was Kinawa or Chippewa. So if you went to the same elementary school, if you went to a certain elementary school, you go to Kinawa. If you went to another certain elementary school, you go to Chippewa. So my mom worked at Chippewa. So I went there instead of Kinawa, where I was supposed to go. So I didn't see a lot of those guys I went to elementary school until I got to high school. And so my sophomore year, only one guy on the team knew about, my diagnosis. And so and then as the year went on, we would have team dinners and everything. And so my mom and our all-state point guard's mom, they were teaming up for team dinner one night. And so I guess the conversation just happened between my mom and Mrs. Jones, Jonathan Jones's mom. He's our all-state, all-star point guard. And so the conversation just happened. And so the next day, Jonathan's taking me under his wing right away. And then I had a group of older guys who were just, they were my big brothers. They took me under their wing. They showed me the ropes. I'm in the hallways of school hanging out with them, just having conversations with them because they knew that, again, there were things that I said and did that they didn't understand. But then once Jonathan's mom and my mom had that conversation, he understood why. Other guys on the team started to understand why too. And so that's why, the 2 years I had on varsity with those guys who were older than me, it's what made it special because they understood it. And they knew that if something got to me and it bugged me, then one of them would just be like, hey, just back off on Anthony for a minute. You could tell it's bothering him, like just let it be. But that's what made our locker room chemistry so great was that we could joke with each other, but if somebody takes it a little too far, then one of us isn't afraid to say, hey, just back off. We don't want to do that. And so, but then when I got to college, because again, I was recruited by all these different schools, Michigan State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Purdue, Valparaiso, Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne, Division II schools like Grand Valley State, Ferris State, Northwood, and so on and so forth. So a lot of those coaches that recruited me, they had an idea. They knew about my autism. It kind of made those coaches not recruit me anymore because some of their schools and universities didn't have the resources at the time that could help somebody like me be successful in the classroom. And
Oh, okay.
so my final three came down to Michigan State, who offered me a walk-on spot right off the bat, Oakland University in Rochester, Michigan, which is about an hour from where I live, and it's a Division I school. And then, of course, Grand Valley State. I wanted to go to Oakland because, that's where Jonathan went. But then my full ride offer got pulled back, got offered to another kid. So it was Michigan State or Grand Valley State. So I ended up taking the full ride offer, having a conversation with Coach Izzo about what I should do. And so when I got to Grand Valley State, we had this team meeting, kind of like a team icebreaker meeting. And one of the questions was, tell your teammates something that nobody knows about you. And so I was like, all right, well, is this my moment? Do I want to tell this story? Like, do I want to tell about my diagnosis? Like, what should I do? And so when they got to me, I just let it all out. I was like, all right, well, when I was 4 years old, I was diagnosed with pervasive developmental disorder. And, that's autism. It's on the autism spectrum for nobody in this room that knows. And this is what I was told when I was 5 years old. And as I was telling the story, I remember our senior point guard, our senior All-American point guard just looked at me the whole time like this. Like just wide eyes, everything, because he couldn't believe what he was hearing. And so
Had they heard of autism before?
one of them did because one of them was studying special education at the time. He was getting his
Okay.
master's. And so he had an idea, but everybody else in the room was just like, what is autism? But I think they were more surprised of what was said about me when I was 5. And so I remember after I told them that, a lot of the seniors in that group came up to me and said, hey, you need anything, just let me know. If you're confused on something, let me know. And especially Tommy Fellows, he was the one who was studying special education. And so Tommy was just like, hey, you need anything, I got you. You need to talk, I got you. Somebody's giving you back, somebody's, giving you a little too much, joking around too much on the team and it's bugging you. Just let me know and I got you. And so, but when I got to Michigan State, I kind of kept my diagnosis on the down low because, you go from a big time Division II program to a powerhouse Division I program that is Michigan State, and you're playing guys that you played against in travel ball, but it's a whole different atmosphere. It's a whole different atmosphere. So when I got there, only two guys on the team really knew about my diagnosis. One was Austin Thornton. Austin and I have known each other for 16 years now, and we both played travel ball together. And then Mike Keebler, who was my high school teammate. And so they knew, Austin knew, Mike had a good idea, so they understood. And then none of my teammates knew about it until there was an incident in the weight room one day with one of my teammates, Draymond Green. And if that name rings a bell, he plays for he's NBA All-Star for the Golden State Warriors. So Draymond was joking with me in the weight room one day about how I had to go do the VO2 workout again. And for those of you watching and listening to this that don't know what the VO2 workout is, the VO2 is a way of measuring your endurance, sometimes your body fat, your sugar levels, your oxygen, et cetera, et cetera. So when you go to a certain school for athletics, you have to do the VO2 workout as a freshman and then you're done. So just to measure your endurance. So I did it once at Grand Valley State. I did it once at Michigan State. So our incoming freshman had to do it. And then Draymond the next day was joking with me the whole workout saying I had to go do it because Coach Izzo said so. And in my mind, I'm thinking, and one of my biggest weaknesses is I don't understand jokes and sarcasm really well. I can't tell if somebody's being serious or they're being, or they're being funny. And so I couldn't tell because he said Coach Izzo said so. So in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, he said Coach Izzo said so. So he's got to be serious. And so, and then it got to the point where I can kind of tell that it was a joke, but he kept going on and on and on about it. And I remember I walked up to him and I said, hey, like, you need to quit. Like, this is just really bugging me right now. Like, I really wanted to go up to him, Rachel, and just punch him in the face because I was just so angry and upset. And then he said to me, he said, well, look, Anthony, here's the deal. If you can't take a joke, then just don't be here. And then my strength and conditioning coach, who's known me since I was 10, he dragged Draymond off to the side and said, hey, do you want to know why Anthony can't understand you? Do you want to know why he can't understand your joking? It's because he has autism. He doesn't understand your jokes. He thinks you're picking on him. He does not see the gray area. It's very black and white for him. Because my strength and conditioning coach, he has a niece who has Down syndrome. And so he understands it. He gets it. He understands it. And so I remember the next day, Draymond came up to me and said, hey, why didn't you tell me all this? And my excuse was, I didn't know how you were going to react. I thought you were going to be like a lot of other people that I've known in my life who found out and then treated me completely different after that. And then he looked at me and said, well, hey, kudos to you because look at how far you've come. And then from that day forward, I wasn't afraid to ask my teammates, hey, was so-and-so being serious or was he joking? Or, hey, was he joking or do we really have to do this tonight? Yada, yada, yada. So I wasn't afraid to walk up to my teammates after that and ask them. But they learned more about autism because of me. And now some of those guys who have gone on to, bigger and better things, if they run into somebody with autism, they know what to do because they had 2-3 years with somebody who's on the spectrum. And so at the same time, it was really a blessing that incident happened in the weight room. And because I remember after my strength and conditioning coach, when he told Draymond about me, like, it was just one of those things that just happened. Like, he didn't ask me for the permit, like if I was cool with it, but it was afterwards he said to me, hey, I told Draymond about you. Are you okay with that? I was like, yeah, like I'm fine with it. If it's going to help, de-escalate the situation, I'm good. I'm good with that. But again, it was a blessing in disguise that all that went down because now my coaches are asking me questions. Hey, if we recruit a kid who's on the spectrum like you, how should we go about recruiting them? What should we do?
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell them, well, ask them what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are. Let them know that Michigan State has one of the best, support services for individuals on the spectrum. We are one of the top universities as far as autism research goes in the country. Like, let them know because, you did it with me and you can continue to do that. So even though like I graduated 8 years ago, my teammates and my coaches, they are still trying to learn more about autism and what it is. And so if I get a random text out of the blue from a former teammate of mine saying, "Hey, I got a teammate who has a son who has autism. What can I do to help him?" And I'll just write like a page long text about, okay, this is what you should do. So again, I was very happy, that incident, looking back on it, it was a blessing in disguise, and I'm glad it happened.
You've been watching Autism Knows No Borders. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, we'd love to hear from you, so let us know what you think in the comments section. Click here to watch this interview in its entirety. You can also find us on your favorite podcast app. Tune in each week for engaging conversations of how people across the globe are inspiring change and building community. Thanks for watching. Take care.